Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing again. Thank you for coming back. Right, Jaron Ennis and Eddie Hearn. I've been away on holiday last week, so I'm still playing catch up, reading back, through all the news. And in this day and age, of course, if something's 2 days old, it's old news, old because everyone's talked about it already. But there was one thing that really struck me that I think is a good illustration of how promoters can manipulate the public narrative and put a spin on something. And that was this affair between Jaron Boots Ennis and Brian Norman. Ennis is the IBF welterweight champ. Norman has got the world WBO welterweight title. And Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, who promote Ennis, were desperately trying to put this fight together. And Norman, on the surface of it, ducked Ennis. Now, technically, I think, you can say he swerved Boots Ennis, Norman, definitely. For those that don't know, because I'm sure you know a little bit about Ennis, but Brian Norman Jr. is 23 years of age. He's from Georgia. And he scored a fantastic win over Giovanni Santillan, who went in as the favourite. But Norman really looked good in that fight. He looked like a little killer, kind of a star was born. And he knocked out Santillan in 10 rounds and picked up he picked up the interim belt, but then it got upgraded. You know how it is. It's all email champions these days. But take nothing away from Norman at 23. He went in, I think it was in Santillan's backyard as well in San Diego, but he went in there as the underdog, 23 years of age, and really showed a lot of character and, some good power and good skills. Now, when it comes to Ennis is, we all know about Boots Ennis, but as the IBF champion, he was ordered to fight Karen Chukadzian, who he's already fought. Chukadzian is a Ukrainian fighter. And in actual fact, he fought Ennis, I think, 3 or 4 fights ago. But he's the mandatory. He lost a 12-round decision, by the way, to Ennis, and it was wide, very wide. There was absolutely no demand for a rematch, but the IBF are very strict with their mandatories. And so they said, no, you're our champion, and we're telling you you've got to fight Chukadzian. Otherwise, we'll take the belt off you. Now, if you've got a fight that's financially is completely dead in the water, which no one wants, no one's going to pay to see, what do? Well, you go looking elsewhere. And so Eddie Hearn was, as he always is, extremely crafty about this. And he said, the hell with this, get rid of the IBF belt. But I'll tell you what, if we get Brian Norman Jr. in the ring, you can beat up this kid. Boots, by the way, 27 years old. So he's 4 years older than Brian Norman and has a lot more experience. And is a huge welterweight, as we know. But Hearn said, if you go in there with Brian Norman Jr., you can take his belt. So you'll still be world champ. Okay, you might have to give up the IBF title, but you'll still be a champ. So that was the apparent plan, because I don't know whether I don't actually know whether Hearn applied for an exemption to the IBF, which you can do. But they were talking about it being either a unification. But the bottom line is, there's no way on earth Hearn wanted Ennis to fight Chukadzian, and understandably so. So what does he do? He says, okay, well, we'll make an offer to Brian Norman Jr. Now, Brian Norman Jr. twigs this and thinks, this guy, I'm being set up here. I've got something that he wants, which is my belt, okay? And if I don't agree to this fight, he's got to fight Chukadzian or he'll get stripped and he won't be a champ anymore, which isn't a very good reflection on a promoter, even though the ruling body are, calling the shots. It's not a very good look on a promoter if, you go from having a belt to suddenly you've got no belt. So Brian Norman Jr. did what we should all do in life. He said, I know my worth. And if you want to fight me, I've got something you really want. And if you want to fight me, you better pay me serious money. Now, he's entitled to do that. And he is entitled to say, because this is prize fighting after all, Eddie Hearn is a numbers man. Frank Warren is a numbers man. Bob Arum is a numbers man. Oscar De La Hoya, Money, money, money. It's all about money. Okay. And Brian Norman Jr., as a prize fighter, as someone whose career in his next fight could be over, he could be injured, God forbid, he could be killed. He's entitled to say, you want what I've got, you better pay me the earth, right? Because I know my worth, right? And Hearn said, well, we made you an offer. We made you a great offer. And okay, you made what you think is a great offer. But Brian Norman Jr. might turn around and say, actually, no. If you want this belt, you're going to pay for it. And you don't call the shots financially. I do, because I've got something you want. Okay? So yes, technically Norman swerved him, which looks bad for him on paper. But there is a case to be made in situations like this where a fighter might say, I'm not taking that. All right, you can say I ducked him. I don't give a damn. You pay. I'm the one. I'm the champion. I've got the belt. You want it. You want a shot at it. You better pay me what I'm telling you. Now, it might be that Norman was asking for far more than the fight was worth. So Hearn could, as a businessman, turn around and say, well, the numbers don't crunch. I'm not going to make any money out of this. Well, boo fucking who, Eddie? Because you're going to make any money out of Boots Ennis fighting Karen Chukadzian? I don't think you are. In fact, Matchroom went on to lose the purse bid. That's how much Eddie values that fight. Okay? I don't know who won the purse bid, but I don't think they're going to make any money out of that fight. But this is the point. It's all about, public perception is normally determined by the person that can spin the narrative. And if there's one thing that Eddie Hearn, the, double glazing salesman, the used car salesman from Essex with all the patter can do, and he does have an element of charisma and everything, he's a very charismatic guy, it's put a spin on narrative. So I suppose what I'm saying is, look at the bigger picture. Look at the picture of a fighter who is, no disrespect to him, but at the moment he hasn't really made a big name for himself, which is Brian Norman. No one's singing his praises, even though he's a very good fighter. He's a young man. He's only 23 years of age. He's got a lot. But what you don't want to do, and by the way, he's undefeated. 26 wins, no draws, no defeats, and 20 KOs. So he has great potential to develop into a big star. And it's perfectly legitimate for him to turn around and say, I'm not taking the short end now, because Boots Ennis is a highly, highly dangerous fight to take. I would certainly pick Ennis to beat Brian Norman Jr. But this young man is entitled with his team to say, no, if you've got to make me an offer I can't refuse. Shade to the Godfather there, but you know what I mean? You've got to make, and yeah, I can refuse that offer. And if he does refuse it, Hearn will then go away and say, well, you ducked us. Well, technically you're right, he did duck you. But maybe he knows his worth. Maybe his attitude is, you don't want to pay me what I want, fuck you. He's entitled to do that, So we have to look at the politics of this stuff when we look at the bigger picture, in other words, when we're talking about how promoters wheel and deal and connive and navigate their way through all sorts of issues that perhaps on the surface of it we as fans might overlook. All right. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this then? Do you have any thoughts? If so, leave them below. Let me know what you think. I'll read them as usual. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new and hit the like button. I always say that, but it costs nothing and it takes a second, and you really are helping out the channel if you do that. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your day. Bye for now.